Hello, my name is Charles, and in today's video, I want to talk about something that I actually care about. Not just trying to make a quick buck, sell a product, sell a course, sell a master class. In reality, I want to talk about what is life about really, and I think genuinely it's just love, like ultimately loving others. And experiencing love and just becoming unconditional love. And, I could be wrong. Let's give some context, right? But I think this is the thing that I am, maybe not in an intellectual sense, but like in a human to human, if I'm really talking to someone and I'm like, dude, what really matters is just love. Like 100% of the time. Now let's give some context, because I know there's going to be some people who are like, I don't know, man. Explain yourself. I don't really know if that's right. So I think we're going to give some context. So the context, we got to use a better color. Let's use green. So the context, we are in fact 23 years old. So, I'm not, the tribe elder. I'm not, the wise old man who knows all. I've only lived 23 years. So, bear that in mind. Not only that, I'm a college student still. Comp sci major. Right? So I spend a lot of time online. I'm a gamer. And what's the last one? Grew up upper middle class. Okay. Right, so that's some context. So now if you have a little bit of skepticism and you're like, yeah, I don't know if life's really all about love. I believe in, Darwinism, and it's just, I believe in Darwinism and that it's just, survival and procreation, or it's just, survival of the fittest, or making money, or it's about, this religion or that religion, or it's just about, this or that, or it's about, making the most money, or dopamine, or pleasure, or, whatever other, I don't know, philosophy you got. I don't know. So it could be you, right? If you're trying to dismiss me, just to be humble and recognize that, acknowledge where you come from. I am 23 years old, college student, gamer, and grew up upper middle class. But to be honest, man to man, man to whoever's listening, whomever, whatever is listening, I think fundamentally the human experience is just about love. And let me explain why. So this is not the most intellectual. This is kind of an ode to, the poetic way of viewing things, right? But I can give a couple of reasons, but really, I mean, it almost doesn't do it justice. So like, why love? Why is it about love? Why love? This is the fundamental question we got going on in this video. Oh, I was supposed to share mine. Lol, I was supposed to share. I actually wrote this right here. This nice little thing. Oops. Anyways, so, why is it about love? Well, I think fundamentally the human experience is about love because nothing other than true, unconditional love, where you dissolve into love, where the sense of self, that sense of self that's identified with a self-image, with a reputation, with a status, with any of those things, with the financial amount, even with the way your body looks, your mind is, that's just the state of being of unconditional love. When you experience that, even if for a brief glimpse, I'll first give kind of an ode to experience, where it's like, if you have experienced unconditional love or just true love for someone, where you wish nothing other, in the most profound sense, for their well-being happiness and fulfillment to be realized without any self-concern, getting, judgment. It satiates the soul, man. That's when you feel, that's when you're good. That's when you're good. That's when, like, all the people, right? And this will kind of be the second, the kind of add on to that. Like, why do we want to satiate the soul? I think everyone, right? If we look at our experience practically, everyone, even if you don't, want to use highfalutin terms or, God or anything, everyone's looking for at least something better, Even the Dalai Lama said it, but not even appealing to them. Like, when you get your cup of coffee, when you're trying to do your schoolwork, if you're working a job right now, if you're trying to start a dream, a goal, like even the mere fact that you woke up in the morning and you got out of bed, you at some level, the movement or just in any direction, be it physical, mental, towards a goal, metaphorical, just means that you're looking to make things better. And so in a lot of the, dopaminergic pursuits, not that I'm some neuroscience genius, but in a lot of the dopaminergic pursuits, such as, getting to the next career ladder, making the next amount of money, success, prestige, etc., right? Accomplishment, feeling validated when you accomplish some goal, right? All those things. They at some level, not that I judge any of them as wrong, or that in some ways or instances they can't even be a good thing or the right thing to do, the loving thing, but that they don't fully satiate. Like, you can have how many, really ask yourself. I mean, this is the part where maybe I come from, upper middle class or whatever, so I can, I can do the inverse after this. But ask yourself, if you've tasted have you tasted enough good foods? Like enough sweet scents, enough, wins in a video game, money made. Like, how many times can you do the I need this desire game? I need this object. I need this person. I need this thing, this, objective to be a certain way. Reality, the world around me, whether it needs to be my car, my house, my job, if it's not this way, I need to constantly pursue it until it gets this way. And then when you get it this way, it's good for a little while. And then you got to go do it again. And then you got to go do it again. And so if you're ultimately staking your fulfillment in just a perpetual, chase of the next, once I get to this one, you already got places that you thought would be the source of happiness. Like, we're obviously, want something better, or we wouldn't go do the things we do. And so if you can agree to that, then it's like, okay, well, we know, we've gotten the cookie enough times. Hopefully we've gotten the cookie enough times to realize, you know what? Maybe whether or not I get my next cookie, I make the next, career raise, I get the next lottery ticket, whatever it is, that's not going to be the true source of my fulfillment. That's going to be great. That might be awesome. It might be super fun, but it's not going to be where the lasting joy is found, man. And if you haven't, let's say you haven't had enough of the quote unquote good materialistic life, you haven't had enough good meals, good dinners, restaurants, weed, you haven't had enough drugs to, be like, well, drugs aren't the solution, money's not the solution, right? Let's say you haven't had enough of that. If you can learn from words, I would just highly recommend you listen here. But if you cannot, go out and experience those things. Or even better yet, if you're like a really dedicated to the truth human being, go to an AA meeting or an NA meeting. Like an AA meeting, I know that sounds like cheesy, like, oh, like that's in the movie. Those guys are like, degen, totally beneath me. It's like, if you go there, they all were seeking something better. They were seeking relief from their problems. So if you're in, the impoverished conditions, if you're in depression, if you're in this, all the AA people, they really just wanted relief most of the time, or something better. They just wanted happiness. They wanted to feel better. And they thought the bottle would give it to them. And then they all come together and they all realize sooner or later, or they die. That's the sad truth. That's not it. We tried. And on the surface, that sounds so simple, right? Oh, of course, drinking alcohol is not going to be a solution to your life. But the thing is, the way it made them feel, man. The way it made them, their states of mind, the way they could relate to people. They're like, maybe this is the relief. But it wasn't. So even if you take a look, go there, and you can see, you know what? That's not it either. Maybe these things aren't it. And if you can get there, then you can realize, okay, then maybe I do need something that satiates the soul. Maybe I do need something lasting. And when unconditional love is something lasting, when you become unconditional love towards, a person, towards life, that you've made it. You're good to go. And so the quest is how to get there. And it's at least in my experience, man, it's kind of like an inward, weird kind of journey. So I've been super fortunate to have a really wonderful relationship that is funneled that has channeled that. And I think it's all transpired to lead to that in a beautiful way. And I thank God for that. So what I'd say is, if you're looking for the first bit of how to experience love, and you're like, man, how do I get there? Like, why should I even love? Let's say you're a disenfranchised, you're bitter, and you're like, dude, this world sucks. Like, everything sucks. And it's bullshit, and you're just not happy about life. Even if you're there and you're like, why should I love? Or to the people who are like, generally happy or living a kind of, what would be considered normal life. And you're like, man, I really do want lasting well-being. How would you get there? And what I would welcome everyone to do is two to three simple things. First, there are 2 to 3 simple ways, and for each person you can choose your own path. But I think these 2 to 3 things, if you do them, these are just basic starting. You could start here, and it'd be a wonderful journey. These have helped me tremendously, genuinely. I'm only going to give what I've actually experienced. I know I'm 23 years old, but this is why I think unconditional love, true love, is why we're here. And everything is ultimately just a vehicle to experience or grow or express that love. So first, kind of technique, or I guess little thing to do, is when you're laying in bed tonight, when you're hitting the hay and sleeping, and you're just laying in bed, and thoughts are popping in your mind, here and there, just look for a moment, because this will bring peace. With peace, you can do some good investigation. When your mind's not too disturbed, or you're not, disturbed by your mind, you can lead to some good investigation and fun with life. So first is when you're laying in bed, your head's on the pillow, and thoughts are popping up. Every time you see that stream of thought, or just for a couple times, when you see those streams of thought passing in your mind, or those pictures or memories or goals you need to get done, ask yourself, or try to just look who is aware of those thoughts? Like, what is aware of those thoughts? How do I know I'm thinking? And don't grab at any concept. Don't grab at any idea. Don't, the words that pop in your head when you do this are not the complete, in a way, not the complete answer. So if you have a thought like, man, I want to go see that girl in class, tomorrow, and that pops in your mind, just when you see that in your head, be like, turn inward and be like, what can notice that thought's even arising? And with that, you'll notice, okay, the lights are on. Like, there's a sense of being in me. And that's like the first window. Second is about trust. Is about trust and about being a kid. So, a lot of people in today's society talk about like inner child, all that jazz. But being a kid, when you were a kid, man, did you analyze and dissect? Like, this is for the overthinkers. This is for all the overthinkers, right? This one will be helpful, or hopefully the solution for them. When you were a kid and you were, playing with other kids, you were drawing, you were in class, or just having fun, or whatever you were doing as a kid, right? If you felt an emotion, you weren't overly dissecting it. It wasn't a problem to be solved. If you were sad, you cried. If you were happy, you smiled. If you were just your natural being. And it was so fluid. Like if you had a good childhood and you're an overthinker, all those times that were happy in childhood, you were just being you, and you were eating at the right. You were eating when you needed to eat because your body was telling you to eat. Your parents were helping you out. You weren't worrying about things, yet life was still happening well. And you could say like, well, my parents were there to take care of it, and like they did it. And this is where the investigation. This is where the second method comes in. When you wake up in the morning, this one's for when you wake up. When you wake up in the morning, take 2, maybe even 1 minute before you grab your phone to be like, did I choose the first thought that popped into my head? Or the next time you're hungry, how did I know I was hungry? Or how did I know I was going to need to use the restroom? And if you investigate that a little bit, you realize that the thoughts that arise, the when I need to do something, the when I need to eat, the emotions that I feel, you don't even have to force any of them to come. They just come in, they just naturally arise when you need them. So just like when you were a kid, when you were trusting life, it was so much more fun and enjoyable. So that same trust, that same, people think overthinking, super being rational and reasonable and planning everything out. When you were a kid, you were able to naturally know when you were hungry, cry when you were sad, go through all the emotions without, too many hiccups, assuming childhood was good, because you were just trusting life, just the way God, or if you're, an evolutionary person, the way evolution had set it up, but just the way life had set it up. You're like, it just works. I just trust it. And you didn't even have a conscious, intuition or reason, like, I trust life. Like, now you may, but you just trusted it naturally, and it worked. So life works. And that is another way. Trust in life is a beautiful way to find that love, or to at least begin the journey. And the third step is to find a devotion. Now, in today's society, especially like, kids at my high school, they'd probably be like, dude, devote, like what is this guy talking about? Devotion? Like, that's such an archaic term, dude. But I mean, like, they might be weirded out by it. But devotion, I mean, when something or someone, some goal, whether it be a goal, whether it be a service, some service, some person you want to love, this is like the lived out one. So for those who are practical and they feel like go-getters, or they need to do things, like they can't just think about it, they don't want too much head stuff, right? For them, if you feel like you're one of those people, find someone, anyone, just choose someone or some goal that you think is noble or would just help some people, and just be fully devoted to that. Fully devoted. Hold it above your own well-being. Because the first time, like, this is why parents, this is, at least I think, I've never had a child, fortunately. But for those who have had a child, like, I'm not ready yet, and I don't think I will. It's just not in my cards. But for those who have had a child, they all see, and at least I hope they see, that when they see that kid for the first time, I've talked to a decent amount of parents and asked them, like just genuinely, like, what do you what's it like when you see them being birthed? And that is, for a lot of people, the first time someone else is truly something else is the center of the universe. It's not the me. It's no longer confined to this skull or about my problems. It's the well-being of another being that is more important. And I know that sounds trite and like, oh, like this is goody two-shoes stuff, but it's so true. It's just so true. If you disagree, you just have. Well, I mean, I'll be a little mean about this one. If you disagree, it's just you're so wrong. Like, really, when you hold the well-being of another person, like even a romantic partner, that's my medium. Or if it's, a goal, a vision, a job, anything that may help someone above your own, you'll finally see what it means you'll have a glimpse of that love, because you'll realize the freeing feeling when it's not about you. You'll realize how easily you can create and serve. You realize how so many of your problems, like so many of the mental clutter and problems in your life. Sorry, just my OBS just lagged out for a second. But so many of the problems and just issues in your life will just dissipate. It'll be like, wow, what? Especially for those. Now, if you're really self-absorbed, and I don't mean that in a mean way. A lot of people really care about themselves. If you're that way, this will be a really good practice, because when finally something else is more important, you realize like the value of making sacrifices, and you realize of like, oh my gosh, when it's really ultimately about something or somebody else, what a relief. What a relief. Like, I know so many times in my life, I fall victim to it all the time of, woe is me, self-pity, I'm so embarrassed. Oh, my mom's embarrassing me at the soccer game. Or this person, oh, it's so embarrassing they're telling this about me. Or gossip, or anxiety. What if I don't do well on this test? What about me? What about me? What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to me? Oh my God, when finally the what's going to happen to me is, at least moderately silenced, and one day, hopefully for me, completely silenced, dude, you have no idea what a relief. In my life, it has been such, even for the moderate, Like, I don't even think I'm fully there in devotion, but I'm doing my absolute best, absolute darndest to be wholly, fully, unconditionally loving and devoted to my partner. And even then, like the little creeps of selfishness, like even then, if there's so much relief when it's about them. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm not offended by things. I see things more clearly, how I can actually help, you know? Things go better. I don't have to deal with self-pity. I don't blame myself as much. I realize that it's not all about me and what happened, whether or not you get the next big job or you don't get the next big job. You're like, oh my gosh, I was fully devoted. And if it didn't happen, like, there's nothing I can do. Or it wasn't like all the self-blame, like when it's no longer about me, there's so much relief. So those are my 3 vehicles: an active approach of devotion, an inquiry approach when you're lying in bed reflecting, like, what is noticing? What is aware of my thoughts arising? And then third, a trust, just an overall perspective or feeling to kind of foster of just like, life kind of takes care of itself. I don't know. I don't know how I know when I need to eat, but boop, hunger appears in my experience, and then I know I need to get food. Or I don't even know how I think a thought. Have you ever asked yourself that, right? How do you know? Like, you may be taught ways of thinking, deductive or inductive reasoning, but were you ever taught, like, how to actually formulate either a sentence or a picture or whatever pops up in your skull? No. Nobody taught. There's no even way most people, even if you're like the best neuroscientist in the world, I feel like you don't even know the full mechanics of how you produce a thought. You don't even know how you make them, but you do it every day, and it's all doing it so well for you. So it's like that trust in life, the devotional practice, and an inquiry, I feel like can be those 3 simple gateways, can be a wonderful, transformative path to unconditional love. And I hope everyone watching, not to sound cliche, but joins me on the journey. Because it's just going to be the most beautiful thing, man. Really, as a brother, as just a person on planet Earth who's gone through ups and downs, who's suffered, just save yourself some time and get to what matters, Don't be 80 years old and you're like, man, I wish I realized it was about love sooner. I spent all my life gathering things and now they're going to dust. Or I spent all my life doing this. I realized, just save yourself some time. Focus on love. And I wish you all the best. Much love. Talk to you guys later.